And welcome everybody to God in the Timber podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Scott. How about y'all pull up a seat? Let's talk for a little bit. And good morning, everybody, and welcome back to God in the Timber podcast. This is episode 13, I believe. So we're going to get straight into it. The campfire story is whenever I took my middle daughter on her first hunt. And the story kind of plays out pretty funny. You can actually go to the Instagram. I will post a video of her hunt. It's the hunt that made me realize I needed a ground blind, really bad. But yeah, so in the state of Tennessee, you're supposed to be 6 years old to legally go hunting. Don't know why that's a rule, but so every one of my kids has had to wait till they're 6 years old. So Saylor turned 6 July the 9th of that year. She just turned 8. Just a few days ago. Whenever this was released, she's been 8 for like 3 months now, or 2 months now. But yeah, so we go back here, and I always take them to the same exact spot that I take all of them. And we're sitting there, and this little girl has picked up every stick on that ground and broke it. She's looking around. I mean, everything that you're not supposed to do, she did. Well, finally, I was just like, hey, let's move to this other spot. Let's go up here into the field and see if anything crosses the field. Well, while we're crossing the field, she's like, Daddy, let's go back here. I'm going to tell us where we're going to hunt at. I was like, okay, well, the way she's walking, I was like, well, if I got a homemade, I call them brush blinds back here. Maybe we can get in it. So we walked back here, and I was like, well, how about right here, baby? Let's sit in this brush blind for a little bit. So if anybody knows about taking a kid hunting, it is one of the most rewarding, but one of the most stressful things you can ever do in your life, because kids, especially at 6 years old, they can't sit still. They can't quit talking. Like, they have to be doing something. So I always let them take their little tablet, and I take my headphones, or they take their headphones and put them on, and just play games while we're sitting there. Whenever it's time to hunt, I would tell them, hey, it's time to get off of it. It's time to hunt. Well, we're sitting there, and I realized I forgot the ear protection. I was like, okay, she's going to have to wear my earbuds when I actually shoot the gun, if I see anything. We're sitting there, and finally I see something moving over to my right, and I'm like, oh, big dog, that's a coyote right there. Well, maybe this coyote will like go in front of us, and I'll be able to shoot it in front of us pretty good ways. Whenever I see her, she's at 70 yards. Her seat yet is at 70 yards. It ended up being a female. Well, I look at Saylor, and I'm like, Saylor, put the headphones in. This coyote's walking straight toward us. I'm like, put your headphones in. She goes, what? What, Daddy? I mean, she said it loud too. And I said, put the headphone in your other ear. What, Daddy? And finally I said, put your finger in your ear. She understood that, so she put her finger in her ear on the opposite side, but didn't have the headphone. Well, by this time, this coyote has made it to 10 yards. I don't know if this coyote was deaf, or if it was just really interested in her little squeaky voice my daughter had at the time. I had to pull up with a 308, and I put it right in the center of her chest, and she smacks the ground. Well, Saylor jumps up, and for some reason, Saylor at this time thought that coyotes was not wild. Don't know where she got this from, but every time she would tell anybody, she's like, my dad killed a wild coyote. And she has said that ever since then. My dad has killed a wild coyote. So, yeah, so it was an awesome little hunt. I'll post a picture on Instagram and schedule it for when this is released. My wife and them just actually pulled up. Saylor's birthday is July the 9th, and today is July the 12th, and we're taking her out for her birthday this evening. But yeah, we're going to break down John 2. This is our second week on John. We are going to do a 5 week series, and then we're going to take about a 3 week break to have some more interviews and do some other topics, and then we'll get back on it until we complete the 20 chapters of John. So this is a very controversial chapter, and the reason I say controversial is because people wants to talk about that you about the hard drink, about wine, how you're not, how it says a drunkard's not to inhabit the kingdom of heaven. But here we see Jesus turn water into wine as his first miracle. And people has a lot of contradictions about that. It's like, well, if we're not supposed to do that, why did Jesus create it into wine? But we have to look back at the traditions of that time. So these weddings wasn't just a 1 day wedding. These weddings went on for 7, 10, for days at a time. And to be completely honest with you, I was stumped on these passages. I had to reach out to my pastor and discuss it with him to try to figure out because I didn't want to give out false information. So he explained it to me, and this is where it came from. So we're going to break this down in a different way, I guess you could say, not really a different way, but John 2. And in the third day there was a marriage in Canaan of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said unto him, They have no wine. Jesus said unto her, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. Okay, so we're going to stop right there. So we see that they were at a marriage, and apparently they had to be, I'm not going to say related, but it had to be something going there because Mary was there. And Jesus was called to come, and the disciples was called to come to the marriage. So you have Mary, you have the disciples and Jesus all at this wedding. And one thing that I've always stumped me on this is where Jesus said unto his mother, Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. If I told my mama, woman, I would get my jaw smacked. But apparently this was a tradition at the time where they called them women. They didn't say mother. They didn't say anything like that. They said woman. We find that out also whenever he's on the cross. It might be before he went to the cross. I think it was while he was on the cross. Whenever he looks at the disciples and says, pretty much, take care of this woman. So they have run out of wine. That's where we're at in the story. They have run out of wine. Mary's told Jesus they don't have none, and Jesus has said, "Why my hour has not yet come." He's pretty much saying, "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." And by that, I believe he is foreshadowing that his time right now is not ready to really do miracles. It's to be a pastor. It is to preach. And his big miracles are to come to prove who he actually is. So verse 5, his mother saith unto the servants, Whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. And there were set there 6 water pots of stone after the manner of the purifying of Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. So I've understood this as like 20 to 30 gallons is what a firkin is. But what I like in this is verse 5. His mother said unto the servants, Whatever he saith unto you, do it. She knows who he is. She knows the power that he has. And so many times our mothers have inevitable faith in us whenever we don't have faith in ourselves, which I'm not saying Jesus didn't have faith in himself. We know that Jesus knew that he could do it. But so many times our mothers is the one that has our back more than anybody. So verse 7, we're going to read a few verses right here. Jesus saith unto them, Fill the water pots with water, and they filled them up to the brim. And he saith unto them, Draw out now, and bear unto the governor of the feast, and they bare it. When the ruler of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and knew not whence it came, but the servants which drew the water knew, the governor of the feast called unto the bridegroom, that is the groom, and saith unto him, Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men have well drunk, then that is which is worth, but thou hast kept the good wine until now. This beginning of miracles did Jesus in Canaan of Galilee, and manifested forth his glory, and his disciples believed on him. Okay, so it was a tradition at this time to always serve the good wine first. Got to break it down on the concept of whenever you have a drink, after you drink 3 or 4 drinks, everything starts tasting the same. If you have drank before, you know that. So that was the custom, was to serve the good wine and let everybody get drunk, and then serve the not so good wine. And the governor, which is like the ruler of the ceremony, I guess is the way I'm taking it, told the groom, he's like, "Hey, why did you do this? Why did you save the best wine for last?" But little did he know it was because of the creator of the wine. It was the one who created the water from the wine, is the reason why that wine was so good. So we just went over Jesus' first miracle, and that was turning water into wine. So now we go to Jesus being angry. This is and this ain't just because he was angry, but this is one of my favorite parts of John, is because we get to see Jesus stand up for his Father in heaven. And we will read a lot of this and we'll go down. So, John chapter 2, verse 12. I'm reading out of the King James Version today just because I'm using stuff on my phone and I'm not looking at the Bible on my phone. But after this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother and his brethren and his disciples, and they continued there not many days. And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and found in the temples those that sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the changers of money sitting. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. And he said unto him that sold doves, Take these things hence, make not my Father's house a house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, The zeal of thine house had eaten me up. Then answered the Jews and said unto him, What sign showest thou unto us, seeing that thou doest these things? Jesus answered and said to them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said this unto him, and they believed the scripture in the word which Jesus said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover, in the feast day, many believed in his names, and when they saw the miracles which he did. But Jesus did not commit himself unto them, because he knew all men, and needed not that any should testify of man, for he knew what was in man. Okay, that's the whole story of him flipping the tables. But let's break it down. Why did he flip the tables? The reason being was they have now made the Father's house a house of merchandise. And I'm about to step on toes right here. But a church don't need a coffee shop. A church don't need a souvenir shop. You come to a church not to buy coffee, not to buy donuts, not to buy a souvenir to show that you went to that church. That church is there for worship. That church is there for a sinner to fall on their face at the altar and repent of their sins. That church is there to be a holy sacrament of God. So many times we see now that I saw this the other day, and there is a coffee shop in one of these mega churches that are called Holy Grounds. You have to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. I know that there's mega churches or big churches that has straight up concert for their worship service. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not saying to have a concert is wrong, but they was singing secular music, and I don't know if they really thought that it was a worship song, but it's that song. My kids love it. I'll bellow it out with my kids. It's Benson Boone. These beautiful things that I've got. I can't remember the actual name of it, but they was singing that as a worship song. That is talking about his love for another girl. That's talking about his love for a girl. That's not talking about love for Jesus. It don't say the Father's name. It don't say Jesus' name throughout the whole thing. So what would Jesus do if he was walking on earth right now? Do you think he's going to be flipping some tables over at some of these churches? I do. I think he is going to be flipping some tables over in a lot of churches. Just because the mere fact of that we have to step up and take church back to church. Church ain't a place to be. I'm just going to put it out there front. Church ain't a place to be buying and selling goods. It's not a place to go there and be like, well, you know what? I really missed my coffee this morning, so I'm going to buy me a coffee and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy this worship service with all these lights and smoke and fog and uh, metal band playing. And afterwards, I'm going to get me a shirt to wear out into town to show that I go to this church. You know, they got a sale back here in the souvenir shop. You buy one shirt, you get one for half price. I can get my husband one or I can get my wife one also. No, that's ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous. Jesus, if he was walking on the earth today and see that we are making a mockery out of the temple of God, that he would be flipping over tables. But he also made, I guess it would be like a whip to get all of the animals out of there. So that is your hot take on this. And that's one reason I love John 2:12 through 25 is we do get to see the side of Jesus where it's like, hey, he had anger, but it was also justifiable anger because of the fact that they was making a mockery of the temple. They was using the temple as a marketplace. And we do, and a lot of churches are doing it now. They're using the temple as a marketplace. If you want coffee, wake up and make coffee before you go to church. Like, wake up and start. I don't go by any coffee shops or anything like that. And I don't drink coffee from coffee shops anyways, just because I drink mine with raw natural honey in it. But stop at Starbucks. Get you a coffee at Starbucks. If you want a shirt, my church, we do, like we have a shirt order form that we do for for our youth. All the money goes towards the youth. And we will order shirts like once a year, and all the money that we collect from it goes to our youth fund for our kids in our church to be able to do stuff. And like, come on now, we don't need a souvenir shop at a church. We don't need a movie theater at a church. We don't need a full-fledged coffee and donut shop at a church. It's not that hard to wake up and make you a cup of coffee and eat you a biscuit or eat you something before you go to church. It's not that hard. I pass a store on my way to church, and most time we stop and get a biscuit and eat it from the time we leave the store to the time we pull into the church parking lot in a minute or two. Because they're like right next door for each other. They're not far from each other at all. But yeah, we have to stop making a mockery and a marketplace out of the church. That's my hot take on it. If you don't like it, I apologize. But we see here Jesus didn't like it. And being a Christian means to be Christ-like. So at some point, somebody has to step up and start saying the stuff that we don't like on things. And I apologize I don't apologize that I have to be the one, or that God's using me as a mouthpiece to be the one that brings this message forward. So that is our end of our second chapter of John. My wife don't know it yet, but she's coming on to discuss chapter 3 with me. We'll probably record it tomorrow. But yeah, I want her to come in with me on chapter 3, not because like the actual chapter 3, but the campfire story is about our first time going camping, and it's just a hilarious story. And I want to get y'all to get her take on it. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in for this week. Remember that a new episode drops every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube. I'm trying to learn how to video these podcasts off my phone and be able to transfer them to YouTube as shorts. It's a work in progress. But y'all like it, share it, and review it. Leave us a 5-star review, and we will catch y'all next week.